Hey there, I'm Russell Hagen, Vice President of Growth for eXp Realty, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about something I find super interesting. It's one of my favorite things to talk about, and you'll hear me talk about it all the time, and it's about selling more houses. You might be like, Russ, come on, man, but you're the growth guy. Like, yeah, but if you go broke not selling houses while you're trying to do growth, that doesn't make any sense, right? So what I want to do today is I want to talk to you guys about a couple of things that you can do and you can put in your business immediately. These are 3 recipes I've been teaching a bunch. If you guys have seen me on stage, you guys have seen me local, you guys have seen me doing teaching, training, coaching, I talk about these 3 recipes a lot. And funny enough, right now we're going to talk about the same thing. And the reason we're going to talk about that is because even now, these 3 recipes are working way better now that it's a relationship business more right now than ever before, because we're seeing a lot less sales. So right now, currently, we're sitting at 3.8 million homes sold expected by the end of the year this year, 2024. A normal year is somewhere around 5.5 million homes sold. So you're seeing a lot of real estate agents out there that are getting way less checks. Keep in mind, for every house that doesn't sell, there's a buy side and a sell side on a lot of these things. So what we're seeing is a lot of pressure on real estate agents, and actually agents in general just selling less houses year over year. So if you can stay the same this year as you did last year, so let's say last year you sold 20, this year you sold 20, you're killing it, because the average person in the market actually has way less sales available to them to run that number. So this right now is when you start stealing market share. And market share right now is by building relationships and building better connections. The thing that you've got to do right now is you've got to get really good at making sure you leverage all the stuff that you should have coming to you. And that starts off with sphere of influence. I don't know if you guys have seen me talk about sphere of influence before. Your sphere of influence in good years when things are reasonably normal should be converting at plus or minus somewhere around 10%. So let's say the average American right now is moving every 10 years versus 6, which is reasonably normal, which means there's a lot more time in between moves. So this 10% is actually dropping down to more like 8% in this type of market with these types of sales. But we've got to make sure we're leveraging the best opportunities. There's a lot of people say, well, Russ, I need to buy more leads. I'm like, is your sphere of influence converting at 7, 6, 7, 8, 9%? If it's not, don't spend a dime on generating leads until you get the highest percentage of stuff locked down. And then if you have time and have a couple extra dollars, go ahead and buy all the leads you want. I'm not saying don't buy leads. I'm just simply saying that when you're passing up this to get something that converts at the top end in the 2% range, it's kind of a crazy way to look at business. So if you could spend 40 hours a week and have an 8% close ratio, or spend 40 hours a week and have a 2% close ratio, which one should you be focused on as a business person? I'm going to take that all day and twice on a Friday, right? So this is the type of mindset we're talking about here. So first things first, I want to make sure we free up a little bit of your time. And the reason we want to free up a little bit of your time is make sure we're working on the right stuff so that we get the ball moving for the next year. A lot of people are talking about business planning. So here's a super simplest way to do business planning for you right now. What I want you to do is start off with number 1 right here, evaluate. I want you to sit down and I want you to look at the list of all the people that came to you, all the business that came to you in the last year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. I want you to look at that list and I want you to get really clear. Where did that business come from? Who were they? Right? What were you doing that you got that person, you got in contact with that person? So what we're finding a lot of times, particularly with people that don't have a bunch of sales and aren't spending a bunch of money on marketing, is people start to realize, as I'm evaluating my business, I'm starting to realize, like, Russ, the majority of the people that I'm doing business with are people that I golfed with, or people that I went to church with, or for me, back in the day, people I mountain bike with. So what I want you to start doing is getting really clear on where your business came from and what was the business that you did. Okay, I want you to evaluate all of the things that you're doing. Write down a list of all of the things that you're doing to work on your business, which is growing your business. So let's talk about 2 different things here. Sorry, I'm working with a messed up thumb. I got to trip to the ER for this one yesterday, which is fun. It's not going to stop me from doing woodwork. Sometimes you get scuffed when you're doing woodwork. Okay, so there's 2 different things we're working on here. We're working on your business, and you're working on in your business. The thing is when you're looking at working on your business, if you're working on your business, this is doing the things that help your business grow so your business starts going up. And then what happens a lot of times, real estate agents will do this. They're like, well, Russ, but I got 3 properties under contract. And what happens is they end up spending a ton of their time working in the business. That contract to close stuff that doesn't get you new deals, it doesn't get you paid any more dollars, but it still has to be done to get close. I get it. I totally get it. You still have to do that stuff. But if you drop the on the business stuff to work in the business, then what happens is your business now is at the bottom. And then you get down here and you get your closings done. You're sitting there going like, well, I got nothing coming, Russ. You're like, yeah. So now you got to work on the business again. So what happens is your real estate business goes like this. A lot of real estate agents are feast, famine, feast, famine, feast, famine, feast, famine, right? So like, here's where we're working on the business. Here's where we're working in the business, on the business. So ideally, what we want to start doing is start saying, okay, listen, I'm not opposed to this. You're going to have a little bit of this. That's just the norm in the way businesses work. A lot of people get frustrated. They're like, Russ, but it's ups and downs. I'm like, every business has its ups and downs. We just have it in a little bit of a different cycle, right? So what I want you to start doing is I want you to start looking at this on the business, in the business, but I want you to start looking at it like this. So the overall trend for working on the business, in the business is I'm working on here, and I'm working more on here, and I'm working more on here. All of the things that I'm doing, I have to make sure I consistently do that on the business stuff so that this trajectory keeps going up. I know you've got to do some of this, right? And when you get to a certain point and have a certain level of success, this is where you start farming this stuff off to other people, right? This is far. Didn't spell that right. Spelling, who does it? Okay. This is where people will hire a TC to do some of this stuff. And what happens is it makes that a little bit more shallow and makes this a little higher, right? And then it makes it a little shallower. So you're starting to look at starting to implement things in your business that make sure you're working the on the business stuff. On the business stuff is adding people to your sphere of influence, adding value to the people in your sphere of influence. Why don't you start writing a list of all the things that you're doing? Which ones of those things are on the business? Which one of those things are in the business? So I make sure if nothing else, I always have to be doing this regardless of what's going on here. I got to book a certain amount of time for that on the business every single month, okay? So evaluate what you're doing. The next thing I want you to do is say, okay, if I've done all these things, why don't you start assigning a dollar sign to all the things you're doing? And all of the things that you're doing that don't make you money, why don't you stop doing a bunch of that? You might say, well, Russ, but listen, if you've been working something and doing something and it hasn't paid off and you've been working on it for 2 and 3 years, that's probably a good one to take out of your business. So what I want you to do is say, which are the ones and the things that are actually making me dollars? I want you to do more of that. I want you to do less of the things that aren't making you dollars. So what we find a lot of times, and when I ask somebody, it's like, hey, well, what are you doing? And they're like, I'm doing this. Good. Have you gotten any business from it? No. How often have you been doing that? Every month. Okay. For how long? 3 years. You've been doing it every month for 3 years and it doesn't pay you back. That is not something you want to keep investing time, energy, and effort in. So what we have a lot of times is people are actually spending a bunch of time, energy, and effort on doing things that just aren't working for them and aren't serving them. So what I want you to start doing is saying, okay, what is this really? How many dollars am I generating from that really? Does this make me any money? Do I get anything more for that? The things that aren't making you dollars, I want you to take them out of your business. You're like, but I've always done that, Russ. I know. You've always done it and it always didn't work. So stop doing it, right? So what I want you to start doing is freeing up time. So you say time is money. Well, yeah, in a lot of ways, time is money. But in reality, when push comes to shove, a lot of people are saying, well, Russ, I don't have time for that. Well, like, yes, you do. The problem is you're spending time on things that aren't working. I want you to spend time on things that are working. Okay, the next 3 recipes that we're going to be talking about, it's going to take a little bit of time. But if you're already booked end to end and not making enough dollars, I'm going to start taking some of those non-money making dollar activities off your plate so that you have time to do the things that do make dollars. So the last thing I want to do is add another 40-hour-a-week job to you so you can just work your sphere of influence. But I want you to make sure you're being really intentional on what you're doing and how you're doing it so that you're not spending time on things that are wasting money, okay? Once you get clear on what makes you dollars and what doesn't, you eliminate the things that don't make you dollars. Now you've got some space, right? This is a beautiful spot. You're like, well, Russ, if I'm only going to do this, this, and this, what am I going to do the rest of the week? That's what these other recipes are going to be for, right? We're going to fill it in with stuff we know drives business, we know gets people to come to you, and we know helps you move your business forward, okay? Third step is engage, right? Once I get all this stuff out of the way, then it's time to engage and let's start going, let's start doing, let's start implementing some of the on the business stuff, okay? So what I talked to you about with Brian Ellington, our chief learning officer, he sent me over. He's like, hey, Russ, could you do a masterclass? And I'm like, yeah, I could do one on boom, boom, boom. And he's like, I like that 3 secrets to sell more homes. And I'm like, good. I'm glad you like it because that's something I love to do. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start off with recipe number one. Here's recipe number one. All right, recipe number one. You guys are going to hear me say this over and over and over. Market update. Okay, I want you doing a real estate market update every single month. If you're not already doing a real estate market update, you need to build this into your life, because this is one of the fun things that you can do in real estate to make you actually look and sound like an expert. So let me ask you guys this question, okay? When you go out and about and you bump into somebody and you're talking to them, and you're having a good time, you're having a good conversation, and you look at them and you say, "Hey, Stephanie, well, what do you do for a living?" And Stephanie's like, "You know what? I'm actually a nurse at the hospital right down the street." Okay. So met Stephanie the other day. So I'm like, "Oh, that's fantastic." And then Stephanie's like, "Well, what do you do, Russ?" And I say some version of, "I'm a real estate agent." And then the next question out of Stephanie's mouth almost every single time, and everybody else, when you say you're a real estate agent, some variation or version of, "How's the market?" Right? They're going to have some variation of that. So here's the fun part, right? A lot of people say, well Russ, yeah, that happens to me all the time. I said, okay, cool. So here's the rub. Right? In the real estate business, like me, I was taught that when somebody asks, "How's the market?" you've got to have an elevator pitch, right? What's an elevator pitch? Just a fancy word for a sales pitch, right? So somebody asks you a question and you do sales pitch, right? And then what happens? Have you ever had somebody look at you and they're like, "Oh my gosh, Russ, tell me more," when you did your elevator pitch? Or you're like, "Oh, Russ, let me give you all my personal info now that you said that." Okay, that's not the way it works, right? Because normal human beings, when they ask you a question and then you sales pitch them, they don't typically want to come to you. They want to run from you. So what we want to do is we want to shift this interaction. Once we get this interaction shifted, now I want to put myself in a position where I can have this interaction more consistently with more people. And now I've got a way to build my business. I'm starting to build a system. Okay, so market update. We're going to have a market update in our back pocket. I'll get into more details on what that means and what that looks like in a second. Okay, so first things first, let's start answering the question, how's the market better? Okay, you guys ready for this? If you've seen me live, you've seen me talk about this. And this still works to this day. Funny enough, just did it yesterday at the ER. And the lady's like, "Yes, I'd love to see that." Okay, she asked, "How's the market?" And I said, "You know what? Funny enough, I'm recording a video on that this week, talking about what's going on in the local market. Would you like me to send it to you?" And her response was, "Yes, I would." Okay, so now somebody asks me a question and I offer to give them what they just asked me about, and they're going to typically say yes. They don't always say yes, but it's a massive percentage of people that say yes. Because think about it, guys. This is that human nature thing, right? Inside our head, we got this little squishy stuff in there, right? And most of us don't like to be sold. But if we ask for something and then somebody offers to give it to us, we're going to say yes. Think about it like this. I've used this analogy a bunch, right? Like I got a hamburger stand, right? And at the top of the thing, big sign that says hamburgers, right? And a dude walks up to the hamburger thing and he's like, "Oh, hey man, you got a hamburger?" I'm like, "Sure. What kind of hamburger you want?" He's like, "I'd like one of those double hamburger-y things," right? And I go, "Okay, cool. Like this?" If I offer to give the dude a double patty hamburger after he just asked me for one, what is he going to say? He's going to say yes every single time, right? So what I want you guys to start thinking is you're dealing with human beings. You're dealing with a natural interaction. This natural interaction can happen all the time, and I can put myself in a position to have this happen even more often now with intention, because I'm going to go out and do stuff that I normally do, and I want people to ask me, "How's the market?" It's not uncomfortable. It's not weird. I'm like, "Hey, how's the market?" It's like, funny you ask. I got a market update. I do it every month. Tells you what's going on in the market. You want me to send it to you? And I said, "Yeah." Okay, cool. Give me your info. Right? Because the second part of this elevator pitch, you guys have been taught and trained this. Second part of the elevator pitch is, "Well, Russ, the goal of the elevator pitch is to get their personal info." Uh-huh. Right? And how many times have you done your elevator pitch and you're like, "Ooh, let me give you my info"? Next to never, right? So our real estate industry has been teaching something that, number one, doesn't work on normal humans. Number two, it puts you in a weird spot. And number three, doesn't generate us what we actually need to do in the first place. So let's start doing things that actually work with the way human brains work and the way humans respond and react. When they ask you for something, we offer to give it to them. And then when we offer to give it to them, they're willing to give us their info because we got something they want. See, here's the beauty of sales. You guys are going to love this. Sales is super easy. Have something people want, and they'll want it. Nobody ever has asked me like, oh, hey man, what's the four things that you bump into houses every day? Never. By the way, what's the favorite color of house that people buy? People don't ask stuff like that. It's like, how's the market, right? So let's get really great at answering that question. And in order to answer that question well, you need to be doing a market update. Since this is what people are asking for, it's the only thing people are asking for in the first place anyway, most of the time, let's just start delivering it consistently. So instead of me just sending them market info, what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to start doing video. You might be like, oh my gosh, Russ, I don't want to do video. Okay, well, let me explain to you why video is super important here. Not only do more people actually want to see video than ever in history, okay, so when somebody opens something, like 5 choices, like a short video on this, I'll watch that in a heartbeat, okay? I'm the same way, you're probably the same way. So video is super powerful. 2 reasons it's powerful. Number 1, it's a format that people want. And number 2, most people still aren't doing this consistently. So if you want to stand out in this market, start doing real estate video. Even if it's bad, it's still better than none. Okay, so I'll give you a couple parameters for really simple real estate market update video here as we go on this process. I'll give you a quick sample of that, and I'll give you like a 3-step recipe on how to do a good video. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to do a video, okay, 30, 60, 90 seconds on some information on what's going on in the market. Instead of me posting, here's some info, I want you to be saying the info. Because if I just post something on social, they're like, oh, interesting expert info. If I forward something in social, oh, interesting info. If I send something that somebody else had posted in social, interesting info, right? Who's the expert? Not you, right? You just posted somebody else's expert stuff. So in order for me to be seen as an expert and people to build credibility, I want to build credibility, right? In order for people to see me as an expert, they know me, like me, and trust me as a person, right? Here's personal credibility. And I want them to know me, like me, and trust me as a professional also. So what happens is every time I'm doing a professional video telling people what's going on, it's not just information. It's Russ Lagan, the real estate dude, doing information. And it makes me look like an expert, 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 me look like it. Because I'm somebody saying experty things. I got experty stuff coming out of my pie hole. So instead of just info, it's Russ Lagan relaying this info in my tone, in my tenor, in my style. Here's what the info is. Now they start to see me as the expert, and the deliverer of expert information start to look like an expert. They'll also start to feel more familiar with me. So I'm building a little bit of personal credibility as I go through this too. So every single month when I do January, February, March, April, every month when I do this, I'm adding to my professional credibility. How else can you do it? Right, guys, if you go out in social media and do what most people do, which is like, look at me, I just sold a house. Look at me and my giant key. We just had a closing. I'm not saying don't do that. But what I am saying is do that to promote what the seller is doing. Do that to make the sellers feel good. That's not you building your business. If you do look at me, I'm a realtor style real estate, people aren't going to come to you. They're going to just avoid you. Okay. So by delivering value and being a resource for people and delivering the info that they actually only ask about, this puts you in a position where people start to look and see you as an expert. And then the more you do it, the more you become their expert. Okay. So video is key to that. Just dropping information doesn't do it. You got to see me talking through it. It makes you see me as the expert. Even if I'm just relaying what somebody else wrote. Hey, by the way, I just read this check this information out of what's going on in the market. And that was me saying, I just read this and here's what it means to me. Now I'm giving an expert opinion on what something I saw was, okay? Video is going to be key. Works really well, okay? So now you might say, okay, Russ, what videos do I need to do? So first video, okay? I'm going to do hyper-local. If you do nothing else, you want to do hyper-local. What is your hyper-local market? If you said to me, Russ, where are you going to do business right now? I'm like, Plymouth, Canton, Livonia, Northville, Novi. That's going to kind of be my sweet spot, right? So that's going to be my hyper-local market. So if you say only do 1 video a month, I'm going to do my hyper-local because it's more likely where I'm going to be. It's more likely where I'm hanging out. When I'm going to my local cigar place, people will be like, hey, man, what's going on there? I can say, hey, within 5 miles of here, I got the numbers off the top of my head because that's my hyper-local. I know that market. I live in that market. I sit in that market. I eat food in that market. I can also tell you the best brisket within 5 miles of that spot too. By the way, it's right next door to my favorite cigar bar. Kind of convenient, okay? So, but hyper-local makes you a hyper-local expert. And since you're in that market and your kids are in that market and you're bumping into parents in that market, you want to have this information on lock right out of the gate. Second thing I can do is I want to do a video on area. And you might say, okay, well, Russ, get more clear on area. Here's area for you, okay? Area is going to be like, for me, I'm Detroit, okay? So I'm west of Detroit. I'm between Detroit and Ann Arbor, okay? Area for me is going to be like everything west of Detroit proper is pretty much my area. Or I could just say Detroit Metro, okay? So smaller local, larger local would be Plymouth, Canton, Northville, Novi, that kind of area. And then the area would be like south. I can do Southeast Michigan. I can do Greater Detroit Metro and hit that whole area. For some of you guys, you might say like, okay, north of Detroit is very different than south of Detroit. South of, let's say, 696 north, 696 south, two really different planets in a lot of ways. So I can do north half, south half type of scenario. Whatever you want to do, as long as it's something that's simple enough that you can do it consistently, okay? So local, I'm going to do monthly, okay? Area, I'm gonna do area monthly also, and here's the reason why. Because people, you find that people in your hyper local, they're moving inside your hyper local from the area, and they're moving out of your local into the area. Like a whole lot of people don't like move from one house in Plymouth. Well, Plymouth is different. Plymouth, some people will move inside Plymouth one house to the next because they'll get closer to the square, so forth. Or they'll go from a really small starter to a lot nicer, newer. They do Bigfoot stuff where they just bulldoze houses and build these really cool houses. So that's maybe a little bit different there. But within that hyper local market, people will move from Redford to Livonia, and then Livonia to Plymouth, or Livonia to Canton, and then Canton to Plymouth, and then Plymouth to Northville, and no. So there's kind of migration patterns on price points and so forth. So you want to make sure that you know that you're getting the hyper local, but you want to get the area too, because somebody just outside the area might say, like, hey, I want to live in that Plymouth town too. That's pretty cool. So they'll move from outside into Plymouth. So I want to make sure I get an area monthly. Okay. I want to do a state one because a lot of people move with a lot of people move within the state, and the state I want to do once every 3 months or so, or we'll just do quarterly, four quarters in a year. So every 3 months or once a quarter, I want to do something on the state, and then I'm going to do something national, typically every 6 months. You might say, well, Russ, why do I need to do national? Well, two things. Number one, you need to know what's going on national, so it's really good to have this info. Okay, you also need to know what's going on in your whole state. Because I hear this all the time traveling. They're like, Russ, you don't understand, man. The market here is getting smoked. I'm like, I was just in Indianapolis, which is different in your market, but it's on the other side of the state. In Indianapolis, at that point, they're like, Russ, the inventory doubled in the last year. I'm like, yeah, you're up to a 1.4 month supply of homes. It needs to double 3 more times to get back to balance or close to balance, right? So knowing what's going on in these markets will help you have better context, okay? So real estate market update video, just start building in your calendar, right? Typically, I like to do the second or third week of the month because your local MLSs have compiled the data. And if you're in any of the matrix systems or the flex systems with MLS, there's typically a tile with local market stats. Pop that puppy open. And in the process of finding this, and this, I'm going to have all the information at my fingertips. So I might as well just make the videos all at the same time. Okay, so at the end of this, I'm going to give you guys a QR code, and that is to a link to a thing in School, SKOOL, and I've got 8 modules of this walking you through just how to do these processes with a lot more detail on how to do a market update and a couple of samples for you guys, so you guys have the ability to take your business to the next level. I hope you guys enjoy that as a freebie for the Executive Masterclass, a bonus to come along with you guys so you can do better with that. So I'm going to drop that one now, and let's move on to recipe number 2. This one I find fascinating, and I find that a lot of people, when I ask them if they're doing this, the answer is no, that they're not doing this. And this is why, part of the reason why recipe number 2 is really important. I want you guys to do a professional contractor list. You might say, well, Russ, professional contractor list, like, dude, I don't want to do a professional contractor. What if I refer somebody and they do something bad? What if you refer somebody to do something good? What if you aren't a resource for your people and somebody else is a resource for your people and they know you've got a preferred contractor list? There's always liability in everything you do, but we're going to do some things that help insulate from a lot of liability. Number one, we're not just going to have one contractor, right? So we've got a number of things that go with this. So think about it like this, guys. If you want to stand out in this business when you're working with sellers, if you have the ability to tell them you have a preferred contractor list, because here's what's going to happen, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. As soon as we get this house listed, you're going to hear that one noise that you've never heard before. And I'm going to get the call and you're like, hey, Russ, man, you're not going to believe this. we've been in this house for 30 years, never heard this noise one time ever. Now, all of a sudden, I got this weird noise and we don't know what it is. It happens all the time. This is also why you want to have a seller's warranty on the seller's house too. So if you're not in the habit of encouraging sellers to have a seller home warranty, you might want to start doing that too. But in the meantime, when I'm doing my listing appointment, I'll sit down and say, hey, by the way, during the course of this business, you're going to have do something weird in your house. It happens all the time. Welcome to Murphy's Law. And for that reason, I've got a list of preferred contractors. The top two that I have on the list are handymen. Right? I got Wally. Wally's on my list, right? Wally will go and do a bunch of nickel and dime crap, like the caulking stuff and the cleaning up stuff and a little bit of cleaning things and the little trim molding pieces that aren't on that should have been on forever. He'll re-stick on some of the things that are falling. All of those weird little balancers in the windows that are broken have been broken for 6 years. You never open the window anyway, but the inspector's going to come out too, and he's going to find a list of stuff wrong with the house. So I want to be a resource when these things come up. And funny thing is, when a seller has something come up, I'm like, man, you called it. And I'm like, I hope I didn't jinx you, but this is just normal course of stuff. It wouldn't be a big deal if you weren't for sale, but because you're for sale, it is a big deal. So let's just have somebody come out and take a look at it and see if we can help you out with it. Okay. If you got the home warranty, cool, man, just call the home warranty, let them handle it. Right. If you don't, I have a preferred contractor. I got a handyman named Wally. He can come in and knock off half of this list in a half a day. He's an interesting dude, but he gets stuff done and he gets it done cash. Okay. So with that being said, if I start building out a preferred contractor list, now I have solutions in hand that a lot of real estate agents don't have. Okay. And here's how we get a better quality list. I'm going to go out into social media. I happen to love Facebook for this. And the reason I love Facebook for this is because Facebook is great with interaction back and forth. And I'm going to post, and please post it like this, because I see these posts all the time. I need a plumber. And I'm like, I don't know what state you're in. I don't know what city you're in. I don't know what town you're in within that city. Like, be clear where you are. Hey, I need a high-end plumber outside West Detroit that's willing to work these markets, that shows up on time, does a good job, has a fair price, and communicates well. And what happens is when I ask for that, there are a ton of people within Facebook who are like, I'd love to refer my guy. My guy, Chris, is amazing, right? So what I do is I ask for communicates well, right? Good. Fair price, right? Yeah. Okay. Shows up on time, okay, and is good at what they do. And if they're nice, it's a bonus. And what'll happen is people give you their list of people. What'll happen is you'll get 6, 7, 8, 10, 15 people that'll actually give you their contractor. So here's the thing. You're like, Russ, I don't need 15 of them. I was like, well, here's the deal. You need more than one, right? So is there a difference between a high-end contractor and a low-end contractor? Yeah, right. So if I get my guy that does multi-million-dollar houses and knows how to program a 10 shower head shower, and I drag him over to a fix and flipper, and this guy's looking for a $13 tinfoil faucet that'll make it to closing, like that guy's going to price him way out. It's the wrong guy to show up. He doesn't even know what a $13 faucet looks like, right? If I take the $13 faucet guy and put him in a $2 million house, he's not going to know what he's doing either. So I want to make sure I'm using the right tool for the right job. If I got a fix and flipper plumber, cool. I got a high-end exotic plumber, cool, right? So I need a high-end plumber, great. So when somebody hands me their plumber, great. Is this a high-end plumber or is this a do-it-all plumber? Is this a fix and flipper plumber? I can sort them out into two different ways. Now, I need I need a high-end plumber and I need a lower-end plumber, okay? And here's the fun part. My high-end plumber is good, right? They show up on time, they're fair, they do a good job, they're going to be busy. So are they available all the time at a moment's notice? Of course they're not. So here's the cool part. I need 2 plumbers that are high-end because I know my good guy's good. He's busy. And by the way, here's 2 plumbers and they're both rated. They both showed up. They're fair. They do a good job. They're fair price and they communicate well. Okay. So as soon as somebody gives me that, I'm going to go into their messenger and I'm going to say, hey, Stephanie, just want to say thanks for giving me your plumber. That's super cool. And by the way, if you ever need anybody else, don't hesitate to reach out to me because I'm compiling a list of all kinds of different pro contractors that are highly recommended in our market. They're like, hey, man, that's really cool. And by the way, I'm going to make sure you get my market update every month that tells you what's going on in the market. You're like, ooh, now it's a great way to start sneaking in people that aren't getting my market update. Now I've got a reason to pop them my market update. They gave me something. I offer to give them something back that I'm a specialist in. Kind of a good exchange, right? So when you start getting these types of fair exchanges, people start to go, wait, I really like this Russ guy. I gave him something, he gives me something back. It's kind of cool, right? Now they're in my list and I can stay in communication with them all the time, okay? I've also got 2 low-end plumbers. or 2 fix and flipper plumbers, or 2 economical plumbers. Either way, call it whatever you want, okay? But I need 2 people who are going to do a deal and do it for the cheapest price possible, okay? Show up and get the job done. Two of those are going to be great. So I'm going to refer you both of them. These guys are both busy. They're both super budget, and they're going to get stuff done. They're going to get it done inexpensive and get it done fast, okay? I got 2 of them. Call them both at the same time. Whichever one calls you back first, run with them. Okay. Good news is they've done business with other people we know, and they're supposed to be doing a good job. Okay. If you find something other, let me know first, because there are people that go on my list and they'll go right back off my list. Okay. Here's the fun part. I'm also going to call that plumber. I'm going to say, hey, I'm Russ Lagan, a real estate dude, building a preferred contractor list. So-and-so said you did a good job. You communicated well. You were fair price and you were nice. Would you mind if I add you to my preferred contractor list? If they don't return my call, or have somebody set up to return my call, guess what? They're not going to return my customers' calls. They automatically self-select themselves off the list. That's why it's great when you get 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of them. Some of these plumbers are amazing plumbers, but they're not that great at business people sometimes. Great with plumbing, not so good with business. They're super busy. They don't return phone calls fast, right? The ones that are really good that are running a business, they'll either return phone calls fast because that's what their main purpose is, quoting and getting new business, or they'll have somebody in the office that can do that. So you want to find the ones that are working the way you want to work with, and you can find some amazing people out there. It reduces the risk a bunch. Here's the other fun part. When you're working with a buyer, hey, Mr. Buyer, when we go into this house, we're going to do an inspection, and they're going to find a whole list of little nickel and dime stuff wrong with the house. Cool part is we got a preferred contractor list. If we need somebody else to come out and take a look at something, we got it lined up. If it's just a bunch of nickel and dime stuff, I got Wally. He'll take a nickel and dime list for $300. He'll check off almost everything on the list, $300 plus parts for a day, right? So if we need to put Wally in, we can eliminate a bunch of this stuff. This gives us better negotiating power, because if we're not nickel and diming over a broken GFCI that's been there for 10 years and it finally blew, which they're built to do, by the way, they don't last that long. They're supposed to not last that long. Instead of negotiating $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 on this nickel and dime stuff, we know we can get Wally over here and get this stuff knocked off pretty quick. Cool. So now we've increased our negotiating strength because we don't have to negotiate on little stupid stuff. We can stick to price. Good. And the buyer's like, that's cool. And after you move in, if something goes wrong with the house, don't worry about it. We got backup people. And by the way, if you don't have a home warranty, make sure you get your buyers to get the home warranty. Cool part is you call the home warranty. If they can't handle it, let me know. We got a preferred contractor list. If you want to do any remodeling, let me know. Okay. Here's the thing, guys. You might say, well, Russ, okay, that's cool. It makes practical traction. So remember we talked about earlier how often the average American was moving? It's now 10 years. So the average person needs you once every 10 years. Once every 10 years, right? So if they're moving once every 10 years on average, then like, what do you do between now and then? Of course, you can send them your market update consistently every month, which is good, just in case, because they can refer you business. But also, when you're looking at moving every 10 years, by the way, if they start calling you when a plumbing thing breaks on their house, you become their go-to person when stuff goes wrong with the house, managing this contractor list. Let's just say on average, my house, I've had 15 contractors in my house in the last 6 months. Normal house, 4 things a year break on a house that you need somebody to come touch that you're not touching. So if you've got 4 things break every year times 10 years, you've got 40 times the amount of contact potential. And trust me, if they'll call you when they need a plumber, they're going to call you when it's time to sell the house. They call you when they need a plumber, they're going to call you when it's time to do a real estate deal or for a real estate deal. So this is actual traction item that you can start building into your business. Now, in the system that I'm going to drop you guys a QR code for, there's a list in there under building out your contractor list. I've got a list of 93 different people that touch a house. By the way, you may or may not know, I was in kitchen bath industry for a little while, licensed builder for a short period of time, and I also built my own concrete countertop company back in 1999 through 2004. I know a lot about contractors, okay? So I made a list together, and I'll let you guys take a look at that list. So you can just go down and start checking them off, right? If you take 93 times 4, you're looking at 370 something plus people you can add to your sphere of influence that are contractors. And now your contractors don't close at 5 and 7 and 8 and 9% like your normal sphere of influence does. But if you have 350, 360, 370 contractors, guess what? A bunch of those people live in houses. Oh yeah, and by the way, I like to call this upstream model. There's a guy named Justin Stoddard that wrote a book called Upstream Model. And these contractors know that you're going to sell the house, that somebody's going to sell a house before I know as the realtor they're going to sell a house. So we've got a scenario where we got 370 people on there that could be a sales force. I'm referring business to them. They could be referring business to me and or letting me know when somebody's replacing the carpet because they're getting ready to sell their house. Hey, did you call Russ? Boom. By the way, every one of these contractors gets my real estate market update. Go figure, because they live in houses and they're talking to people running and getting in and out of the business and selling houses. So is it good to have them and start employing them as a sales force? The more intentional you get with that, the more sales you can get. So even if you only get a couple sales out of that every year, is it worthwhile spending the time, energy, and effort? Remember, eliminate a bunch of stuff so we have time to do this. I'm just going to do social like once a week, promote a new contractor. Now it's Russ the Realtor promoting other contractors and promoting building a contractor list, not self-promoting himself. People want to start coming to me when I'm not being gross and weird, trying to sell them all the time, okay? Build a contractor list. It's super important, okay? Last recipe, but not least. Oh yeah, and by the way, helps you build professional credibility and personal credibility. All right, last one, but not least, okay? 3. Social media done right. Okay, I want you guys to start thinking of looking at social media. Instead of doing social media, look at me. I want you to start doing social media. Here's something for you. Okay, we as a real estate industry have done a really bad job of doing here's stuff for you. And we do a really great job of, hey, look at me, right? We see it all the time. Look at me type of marketing. So I want you to start thinking is in social, 2 things I want you to do. Number 1, you're going to be doing this in social, which is building out a contractor list so I can take care of you. Good. Also, I'm doing, here's a market update, information you should know. People only ask me, how's the market when I meet them. So I'll make sure you guys know what's going on in the market. You become their real estate expert. There's 2 things in social that you can do. And then the third thing in social is I want you to become that hyper local expert. If you look at like Mike Sherrard will talk through this, Gogo Bethke will talk through this. You'll look at Levi Lassick in Dallas, Texas talks about going through this. You want to become that hyper local expert. If you guys want to see something interesting, Google Buddy Buck, B-U-D-D-Y, Buddy Buck out of Duval, Washington, outside of Seattle. Buddy Buck started doing these things, just these things, and he's become basically the mayor of Duval. You want to talk about getting messed up for social? He and a bunch of his buddies got dressed up in those inflatable T-Rex suits, and they went running through a corn maze for October as one of their social media posts for a local corn maze they promoted, and they ran through it wearing blown up T-Rex suits. So hyper local, promoting local things. They were promoting the local place and the local breweries and the local stores and the local food stores. Do any of you guys like to eat? Yeah, I do. At least every day I try to eat, right? But some of you guys are foodies. So instead of saying, hey, we're just going to go wherever, let's get super intentional about saying, hey, where's the 5 best mom and pop places to get food? For me, if you want to get my attention, when I was in Austin, Texas, in February this year for a month, I went through and I went to 7 or 8 different barbecue places. If I lived there local, I'd be like, hey, I'm Russ the Realtor doing barbecue 101. Let me show you the 5 best barbecue places in Austin, Texas. People aren't Googling looking for a real estate agent, but if I post something and I build it in my YouTube channel where I'm saying, here's the 5 best barbecue places in Austin, Texas, guess what? People are gonna start paying attention to that, right? Can you imagine doing that with the 5 best value golf courses, the 5 nicest luxury golf courses, 5 places you can race a car, 4 places you can ride a bike, 3 places you can take a kid, 17 places you can take your dog? So you can start becoming and doing local color. So instead of me doing like, hey, I'm Russ, a real estate dude, buy or sell a house with me, which I see those posts all the time. If you think about anybody think about buying or selling real estate, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'll help you out. And you just alienated everybody, right? So I'm Russ, the real estate dude, checking out cool stuff, doing cool things. I'm Russ, the real estate dude, meeting cool people, meeting the owners of small places. I'm going to interview people that run food trucks, right? Here's 6 food trucks you got to check out. By the way, here's the owner. Boom, give them a quick interview. Next thing you know, I'll be like, hey, I'll send you a copy of the video. Give me your info. So I'm going to promote their business. I'm Russ the Realtor promoting their business. I got to eat somewhere anyway. So I might as well shoot a quick promo video, shoot a promo video with the person that owns the thing. And then you say, hey man, like give me your info and I'll send you a promo video. And by the way, I'll put you on my list for market update. If you ever need any real estate, let me know. Do you see how by building out and doing things social and building out a YouTube channel, you can actually start to make way better connections with people and have way better reasons to connect with people? There's a couple people that teach this, so you guys have seen us promote Levi in our systems here on how to build out a YouTube channel. This is the kind of stuff that he's talking about. This is a simple version of that. So you can start doing simple versions of that. And if you want to take his masterclass on this, they've got a whole thing set up for you guys to be able to do that. Go Bethke, same thing. Master at social. This is just some basic info for you guys to be able to see, I can incorporate this in my world. And I can start doing things. Here's what's going on local. Here's an event going on local. Shoot a quick video of the local, the local parade, local events, local charity stuff. All of the things that are going on local, you become Russ the real estate dude doing cool local stuff. People start to see you as, again, hit Buddy Buck, Duval. Look at the stuff he's doing. That guy's gotten crazy with it. You can go super simple, and as you start building up more funds, getting more sales, you can get more intentional, and you can get somebody to help you work on the back end of that as a professional. But right now, just keep it simple, man. You in a selfie video with a selfie stick talking about what's going on local. Have a video of them in the background, introduce them. Hi, I'm Russ, the real estate dude. Check this out. I got Mario. Mario and his wife opened this place in 2020. This is the most amazing little restaurant. It's a little place in a hole in a wall in a strip mall. You'd never think is a great place to get a steak. But check this out. Mario and these guys have survived. You go inside. They got fire. They got smells. They got sounds. It is an amazing environment. So if you're in the market looking for a great steak in a really unique location, support a mom and pop store, go to Peppergrass. Right? Or I'm sorry, Peppermill. Peppermill is actually a restaurant in Phoenix, Arizona, between like Chandler and Mesa. Right? I popped in there. I was like, this place is cool. Great steak, good food, had a great glass of wine. They had fire blowing up all over the place. It was cool. It's like watching two people do a dance, building dinner for everybody. Fascinating place to go. Start telling a story, Russ the Realtor telling that story, people start to pay attention to you, right? And when they have a real estate question, you become their go-to person. So start connecting, start living a life. People say, Russ, well, how do I grow my business? I want you to start going out and meeting people, doing things you love. I want you to go out playing golf. You go golfing, you go jump out there and jump in with a threesome that needs a fourth. Next thing you know, you're playing golf, you're having a good time, have a soda pop or two, hit a couple golf balls, sink a putt or two, and they're like, hey man, what do you do? I'm a real estate guy. How's the market? Glad you asked. Boom. Added 3 people in my sphere of influence. So last thing of the last, okay? QR code is going to pop up here over my shoulder. And this goes to Jumpstart Masterclass. Good timing on that. Jumpstart Masterclass. And Jumpstart Masterclass is in a thing called School, SKOOL. You have to register for it. I'm trying to make sure we don't get it polluted with a bunch of people doing crazy stuff, trying to sell you stuff. It's literally just 8 modules that I threw together of this stuff for you guys so that you can touch this and run with this. And you'll have all the steps you need to just be able to build out those 3 recipes and just move the ball forward over the next year. If you do those 8 modules and do these activities over the next year, you're going to see your sphere of influence start converting at 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8% over the next year, which means for most of you guys, 200 people sphere of influence means 16 sales. 16 sales from 200 people in a sphere, doing things that make you and look like a pro, sound like a pro, and make it feels like you're giving stuff to people instead of trying to take from them all the time. So there you go. That's the module. There's Executive Masterclass on how to sell a couple more houses. If you get stuck on something, don't hesitate to reach out. In the meantime, jump in school, register for Jumpstart Masterclass. It's free. There's nothing for sale. It's not even managed. It's just there for you guys to be able to have this stuff at your fingertips. And we'll let you make sure you guys get accepted into there and you guys can take your business to the next level over the next year.